Hey guys, Abby here and welcome back. This is my second Moze build video. Yes, we got another one for you guys and it is Takedown ready. I am calling it Green Mobster Moze because it centers around the green skill tree and also the green monster class mod. So we got that going on. It's great for mobbing. Also really great for bossing as well because all you need is a quickie or something like that and you've already got some for the road in the skill tree, which makes it super easy to boss. I've been able to do Takedown many times on this build. It feels really great. You're gonna have lots of flexible gear choices for this build. Yes, you do not need the oh so elusive Cloning Maddening Tracker. Every time we get a level cap increase, you won't have to re-farm for that bad boy because guess what? This build does not use Vampyr. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the Moze meta of just throwing grenades constantly. It's not something that I'm super into, so if you are not as well, then you're gonna love this build. And you might also want to check out Snow Moze, which was my first Moze build, which is something completely different, centered around the Frozen Heart shield. This build, however, is going to focus on the recharger shield, but before I show you guys the gear, we are going to take a look at the skill tree. I'm going to pop it up here on the screen per usual so you guys can screenshot it. I'll also have a link down below for the text version of it as well. But as you guys can see, we are focusing mostly on the green skill tree. We're going to be taking Cloud of Lead, Stoke the Embers, and Redistribution, and then 1 point into match set just to get down to the next tier there. You could also put it in Scrappy if you want. However, I do find that I normally have at least a couple of the same manufacturer weapons, so it's nice to have just that additional mag size, especially since we're going for a large mag size and constantly shooting. And then Scorching RPMs, Iron Bank, 1 into Specialist Bear because we are going to be using our Iron Bear for a bit. It's not just to get in, get out. We are actually going to be killing things with it. And then we're going to get Some for the Road. Now, Some for the Road is pretty much for bossing. It also helps a little bit with mobbing because you're going to be saving some ammo that way and being able to ramp up our corrosive ticks from Green Monster. So it's a nice add-on for this build. Now, obviously our class mod is going to put points into Scorching RPMs, Iron Bank, or Click Click. Initially, I tried 3 points into Click Click, but I noticed that it wasn't really adding that much damage to the build, and the points were better used in other places, so I went ahead and did that. If you feel like Click Click is giving you some nice damage, then you could go ahead and do that. However, our mag size is going to be fairly big, and we're going to be keeping up our ammo in our magazine due to redistribution. So I don't think it's really necessary to put any points into Click Click. Now on to the Shield of Redistribution tree. We've got Security Bear, we've got Armored Infantry. I originally had 4 points into here, but I did take those points, like I said, out of Click Click. So we put 1 into here, and then I put one of the other points into here as well, Vladoff Ingenuity. The Armored Infantry is going to give us gun damage and damage reduction when our shield is active, and since we're wearing the recharger shield, it's going to be active a lot more than you would think in Mayhem 4. And so this 15% gun damage is going to be up a lot of the time. And we're also going to be getting damage reduction, which is great because we are not using Vampyr with this build. And then with Vladoff Ingenuity, this is just going to ramp our shield capacity up. So it gives us 30% max shield, which is really nice, and gives us shock resistance, which is also great. Then we're doing Drowning in Brass for the stacks. We're doing full can of whoop-ass so that we can get our shield back because we want that recharger ready to go whenever we need it. And then we've got Experimental Munitions as well with the 10% bonus incendiary damage. And then over here in the blue tree, we are doing 5 out of 5 Grizzled. It's super important to have your Iron Bear available to you at all times. So I went ahead and put 5 in here. I experimented with putting 2 into Stainless Steel Bear, but I felt like it wasn't as noticeable as the cooldown from Grizzled. As Moze, you're going to be getting a lot of your kills with your weapons versus in Iron Bear, but you want Iron Bear to be up so you can get that shield recharging quickly and so that you can proc your action skill and anoints as well. And then we're doing 2 into Deadlines. This allows us to take out some of the heavier targets before we get out of Iron Bear. We're also doing 3 out of 3 into Means of Destruction. This will actually help with our Iron Bear, allowing us to shoot for longer because whenever you deal splash damage, there's a chance to add ammo to your equipped weapons magazine. This also works with Iron Bear. So we're using the Vanquisher rocket pods without any augments because this is the most damage we can get out of Iron Bear. But whenever we do splash damage with the Vanquisher rocket pods, we can also proc this ammo chance. So it allows you to shoot longer without having to reload. It's also going to help us regen our grenades, which is really nice. So this can come in handy if you need transfusion grenades for health or generator for shield. It's also great to keep spamming piss grenades as well, which will debuff the enemy by 20%. And then we're also plopping a point in here for Auto Bear. This is just a nice way to take a little bit of aggro off you, have Iron Bear out there doing some damage. All right, and that is it for the skill tree. Next, we're going to take a look at the gear for this build. You guys will be happy to hear that the gear for this build is pretty darn flexible. I actually experimented with a lot of different weapons because I know a lot of these weapons are harder to get. So there are definitely substitutions that can be made. No worries there. But if you guys are interested in seeing the takedown section by section with Moze and what weapons and gear I'm using for each different section, let me know. First, we're going to go over the shield because I feel like this is the only piece of this build that is really required, that I think is really key to this build and what makes it work so well. You're going to want to look for the recharger shield. Now it can have any prefix depending on the perks that you get on it, but the great part about the recharger shield is that it instantly begins recharging when it's broken. There's a cooldown of 20 seconds on that, but as long as that 20 seconds is up, every time you break your shield, it's going to immediately recharge, which means that we're basically going to get double shield out of that. So it'll break, it'll instantly recharge, and then we get that full shield capacity again. So it gives Moze and this build a lot of survivability. For the anointment, mine is on action skill N, regenerate 5% max health per second for a short time. So that short time is going to be somewhere between 10 and 12 seconds. So it's not a ton of time. However, our health is 9,404 right now. So that's going to be about half of our health in that time frame. So that's a really nice chunk of health, especially when our shield is getting recharged immediately all the way back up to full when it breaks. So we're going to have that buffer there so that we can regen that health while we're waiting for our Iron Bear cooldown. So every time you get in and then get out of Iron Bear, you're going to be triggering this anointment and you're going to get health regen. So it's a pretty strong health regen. You can also find class mods and artifacts that have health regen on them as well if you want to keep further stacking them. I use this Icebreaker Auto Idol a lot, and I also use this Flesh Melter Victory Rush a lot, and they both have health regen on them. They're going to give you a little bit less than a 2% heal per second, so it's not a huge health per second, but it does help, especially if you stack that with another one on your class mod. I also tested the other Iron Bear Moze anointment that you can get on your shield, which is after exiting Iron Bear, gain 75% increased shields and health for 25 seconds. This anointment would probably be second place as far as what anointments you want to get on your shield. If you have this one on, basically when you get into Iron Bear and then you get out again, you're going to see your shield and health shoot up there, but your shield still has to recharge that full amount. It doesn't automatically give you the shield. However, it will give you the health as long as you are full health. But in my opinion, from my testing, I felt like the health regen was a little bit more helpful in terms of sustainability and keeping my health bar full instead of just giving me an extra boost. I also like this shield because it has a fairly high capacity. So this one that I've got is 14k, and then with our skills, we're also going to be boosting that another 30%. So my total shield is 20,559. Which also includes my guardian rank. So we're sitting pretty good at around 30k total for our shield and health, which is a nice healthy number. Now let's take a look at the class mod. For the class mod, we're going to be going Green Monster again, same as my Snow Moze build. The Green Monster is going to give us corrosive damage. It's also going to increase our splash damage the longer we fire, which also applies to our Iron Bear damage as well. So it allows us to be a little bit more of a hybrid build where you can use Iron Bear to actually get some kills for you, And then as long as you make sure you're getting out of Iron Bear before the halfway mark so that you get some of that cooldown refunded, so you're not waiting 2 minutes for your Iron Bear to be back again. For the green monster, you're going to want to look for points into Scorching RPMs and also Iron Bank. You don't necessarily need the points into Click. And then for the perks, you're just going to want to match whatever weapons you're using. You want to try and find the specific weapon type, so SMG damage, assault rifle damage, etc. That's going to be multiplicative to your damage, so that's going to give you the most damage overall. And then of course splash damage is great, weapon critical damage is great, action skill cooldown is really great, health regen like I said before. For our grenade, we're going to be using an It's Piss grenade just to debuff the enemies and do 20% increased damage for 6 seconds. Some other options are the transfusion tracker. This will give you health and shields depending on the damage you do to health and shields, but just keep in mind that grenades like this that have generator or transfusion grenades, those are only going to work if you are damaging health bars for the transfusion and shield bars for the generator. So if you're in a fight where you're fighting against armored targets, like in the Takedown against the Valkyries or against Wotan particularly, these grenades are not going to work to keep you alive. So I didn't really need these grenades, and that the piss grenade actually just helped give me some more damage so that I could kill enemies faster, so they didn't have a chance to injure me too much. But if you are doing general mobbing like in Slaughter Shaft, I feel like these transfusion nades would be really great just to keep that sustainability up. But it's always great to have a couple It's Piss grenades. And then the last piece is the artifact. We are using 3 different ones actually. So we're using the Icebreaker auto idol if we're using cryo weapons. We're going to be using the Atom Bomb Victory Rush, or you could use an Atom Bomb auto idol, and that's going to be when we're using radiation weapons. And then we're also going to be using a Flesh Melter Victory Rush or a Flesh Melter auto idol, whatever you've got. And this is going to be specifically for the Takedown. It also works really well if you're fighting other armor like in the Handsome Jackpot DLC. If you're worried about sustainability, you could always go with a Last Stand Victory Rush or Last Stand auto idol. That will keep you safe when your health drops below 50%. There is a pretty long cooldown on this though, of 40 seconds, so keep that in mind. And then you can also always use a Snowdrift auto idol if you like the movement speed, especially against Wotan. So you really have a lot of options there. Just keep in mind that because we're using Green Monster as our class mob, we're always going to be doing corrosive damage. And if you have an action skill and anointment on your grenade that's also doing corrosive, you may get a lot of corrosive kills that you don't even realize you're getting. So the Flesh Melter can be a nice boost to your damage if you don't feel like using anything else. Now let's go over the playstyle for this build. So what we want to do is get into Iron Bear. We can actually get a couple kills in Iron Bear and then start getting out before halfway and then just kill stuff. Pretty simple. So you can use a whole bunch of different weapons with this. Let's try our radiation redistributor out. And you can see that Iron Bear does some decent damage. So I like to get like 1 or 2 kills with Iron Bear before I get out. And then just go to town with this. Since this guy's corrosive, we're going to make sure he gets a piss grenade. But we're also doing corrosive with the green monster and with our action skill and anoint from our grenade. Go up and get those guys pretty easily. Alright, so now that we're over here, we're going to try out this ion laser, see what we think of this guy. Where's my enemies here? But let's see what happens here if my shield goes down. If my shield goes down. Yeah, my shield goes down, goes right back up. We can use this ion laser to kind of pulse. Get in Iron Bear. We could probably take this guy down straight from Iron Bear. Perfect. Get this guy as we're getting out. But the build works out really well because we're doing fire damage from our skills, and then we're doing corrosive damage from our class mod, and then you can use the element of your weapon to help you strip shields, to do crowd control with cryo, or fill in the gaps where you need it. But yeah, that's pretty much the playstyle of this build. Like I said, you guys can use whatever weapons you like. Just make sure you've got some good anointments on it. This was my final loadout for the Wotan fight, but I like this build a lot because it's not as gear dependent as a lot of the other builds. You don't need like a god roll grenade. You don't need a lot of the takedown weapons in order to do the takedown. The only thing you need to keep your eye out for is this shield, because I feel like that is what gives us the sustainability and the health regen. So I hope with this build I've helped you guys see that, you know, Moze doesn't have to be as gear dependent as we think she does. I actually kind of shocked myself a little bit because I wanted to put together a new build for Moze that could do the takedown, because Snow Moze can kind of do it, but it gets a little hairy in the last boss fight. So I wanted to make something that was a little bit more flexible with the weapons and the gear, so you could do the takedown easily so that you can farm for those redistributors and Kibsworth. Alright guys, that is it for the build video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's pretty simple, pretty modular. You can kind of put in whatever you want and make it work. Hopefully, if you try it, let me know down in the comments below. I want to know how it's working for you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Borderlands 3 content. I usually am doing build videos and educational stuff here on the YouTube channel. I also stream on twitch.tv/AbbyHour Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern time till 2 a.m. I would love it if you stop by and say hi, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.